We are back here with Deadlock Fight Night number 23, presented by Intel. Rolling along into the North American side of the broadcast. ZP here with Jake. And, you know, Jake, EU kind of showing us a really defined meta. We'll see if it is going to be the same in NA, where it's been an interesting week in NA. We got some teams a little bit thrown together, all still top players, but it's going to be the Revengers taking on the Crayon Eaters. But you're going to see a lot of familiar names on these teams, Jake.
I mean, I actually think this is a pretty cool opportunity to see teams playing in a more casual style, because as you mentioned, like, they're still super strong players, but when you put teams in this plugging environment, people are willing to try things a little bit more, you know, crazy in terms of the way they're going to play or the way they're going to draft. And I think with the players all still being super strong, it may be an opportunity for innovation or for new styles of play to emerge, which I think will be particularly interesting, particularly when one of these teams goes on to face melee creeps.
So if you're just tuning in here, this is the format of the day. We're going to be kicking things off with our challenging match. Two teams playing against each other for the right to go up against the champion, which is Melee Creeps. They dethroned Hydra Nation a few weeks ago and have maintained the crown ever since. Of course, we just finished up with EU, where it was a VP one-win final once again. But this time around, VP gets over the hump, figures things out, and reclaims the throne of Europe. And always cool, Jake, to see that title pass back and forth in EU. No team has held it for too long.
Yeah, OneWin was dominating for quite a while, and VP came and snatched it back, which I think is exciting for Europe, keeps the things in contention with those two teams clearly rising to the top. For NA, though, I mean, I wonder if Melee Creeps will be able to roll over the challenger. I mean, you'd think that they would in theory, because they're a team that's played together, but also, I think there's something to be said for these teams with no expectations on them, that are willing to just go out there and play their best and, not put pressure on themselves. Sometimes that gives you that competitive edge, ZP.
All right. And, before we get a little bit too further in the show, if you did enjoy the Pictionary segment that we had going on in the break, Jason, who, of course, one of our DFN casters, produces that on his YouTube channel over at Locked In. Check it out. Give it a follow. He's always making cool content that, we like to showcase here and now. But you know what, Jake? The other thing we like to showcase here in Deadlock Fight Night? Some sick merch. We got new items being added here and there, legally distinct enough, but you like things that are vaguely Deadlock related and want to put it on a mug, give it a go. Some cool stuff.
I mean, the custom art is actually pretty solid on these. There's a lot of different items in the merch too. Like, these are just like the new stuff, but there's so many different art styles and different items you can get. I got a couple of the mugs myself, a couple t-shirts.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of a mug enjoyer is what I've heard. Just really collecting.
I am a mug enjoyer. I like to have no two mugs are the same in my household.
That's right. Go in there and it chronicles your journeys across the world and just hobbies you like. Put it on a mug, go from there. But the merch stuff is over. We're getting into the teams. We got some interesting logos here. An interesting logo. I think it's part default DFN logo for the Revengers, but then the Crayon Eaters. They got 3 members of Hydra Nation.
Do you have a close up of the Crayon Eaters for the people at home?
Yeah. This is what we've gotten into here this week, where I believe it is Flick, Rocane, and Letha they're playing over there. Oh, and an older Hydra Nation standout where we got Vegas playing back in, and Jake Buds making another appearance. For last time Buds came in and subbed in, it was the 2000 week where Buds just like slides into his first Deadlock Fight Night, wins $2,000, leaves, doesn't elaborate.
I mean, Buzz is that designated sub. I mean, he's been a top player streaming his performance for quite a while in Deadlock, so it's cool to see him compete. For Avengers, though, it's going to be some fan favorites as well. We got Deathy and Goober, Blurance, Sip, Tikapa? CIKP? How do we say that, ZP? What's the ruling on that? League and Salty. Sick P. League and Salty. So it'll be interesting to see the pickup games. I guess I'd probably give the edge to Crayon Eaters, given that this is kind of that Hydra Nation core, along with quite a few players that they've played with previously. Crayon, of course, as well, making the debut on the eponymous roster. Definitely, I'd favor them here, but I feel like this is anybody's game to win, given that it's a bit more of a pickup scenario.
There's one caveat to the anyone's game to win. I know there's kind of a love affair historically between one player known as Deathy and one hero known as Lash. Deathy, I would like to implore you, don't do it. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, all right, this might be the Lash meta. No, I don't think you're gonna. I know it's NA, but no, do not. I will lose my mind in a delirious way, Jake, should they go down, but Now that I've laid out the stakes of just being like, definitely please don't pick Lash.
He's gonna pick Lash.
For the draft. Or actually,
he's gonna pick Lash. Is what I'm sure about.
Inviting people onto the show here, Jason. I have no idea why I've not introed you back in here. I'm just like if I just he'll go away if I don't bring Jason on the show. But we're actually going to be bringing Jason, or it's Dan actually.
It's Dan. Yeah. I appreciate you have me in your mind though.
Yeah. So Dan, I apologize for that. I got along the run of show and I just skipped the intro Dan part.
Explain yourself. This is unacceptable. I've been sitting here waiting. It's like I got stood up for a date. I was just sitting there. I was like, anyone care about me? No.
It's actually personal, Dan. You know, you commit some slight, but I'm gonna be very passive aggressive about it. And this is just one of the microaggressions, Dan. It's like, I gotta hold you off like 2 meters on the run of show. But Dan, are you excited for Crayon Eaters versus the Revengers?
I mean, honestly, it's kind of nostalgic back to my own crayon eating days where. No, I don't have anywhere else to go with this. Nothing coming to me. All right, so yeah, pretty exciting. I mean, you'd expect them to still be pretty sick, given the fact that the players are pretty good. You know, mostly hydration players, as Jake pointed out. But going with the Mirage ban, well, that's interesting. Mirage definitely high pro, but I don't think I feel like I don't know. Something feels off. We used to see Mirage banned all the time. But often Mirage has been up for grabs of late because you're getting that GT ban in first. Sinclair's come back as a first ban as well, but
I wonder if Revengers will ban the GT here because I think the priorities and so and they're going to go with the Holiday instead, which should give Crayon Eaters the great talent if they value the hero as highly as Europe, which honestly I think they should. I do kind of agree. The great talent is just so potent with the power shot damage is ridiculous. The early game global presence as soon as your ultimate is online. It's so flexible, right? Whether you're clearing waves or actually setting up a gank or finishing a kill, there's so many different ways to deploy that ultimate. You kind of just rip it on cooldown, and there's going to be something for you to do.
Yours.
The interesting thing, though, is that, okay, you pick the GT as GT has been the highest value. Just don't let anyone get it whatsoever across both regions. But I also think with how important initiation has been here, Revengers, they should, by all rights, immediately respond here at the Paradox. And I think for Crayon Eaters, you kind of have to get Mo in the next 2 picks. And if you don't get the Mo, I don't care that you got the GT. I think the Paradox, Mo, and Krill setup would put them in a bind. So, okay.
Paradox, if they get both GP.
Yeah, they could just pick both right now, which would be problematic for Crayon Eaters.
It's wild, but I kind of like it. I mean, I think you can get these super high prios in the draft. I guess the optional response is something like a Bebop. To have a bit of a pick hero that Crayon Eaters could still grab. But let's see what Revengers actually do. I wouldn't be crazy to see a Geist or the Sinclair. Yeah, these are also super high prio picks. And do you really want to pick the Mo right now for Crayon Eaters? Maybe you should. It's the best of one after all, right? It's like a scary. We know it's such a powerful hero. Gives so much pick off and comeback potential.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I'm curious if NA is going to value Geist as highly as we saw EU valuing Geist here, because that was like a big value shift. But I don't expect to see that here. There's like so many good options available. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. We're seeing that be like the highest value carry right now, which is kind of awesome to see the return of Yamato as a high-end carry.
Yeah, I think Yamato, this is something that both regions are going to value, and I think the fact that E-Shift going away just means that you're way more likely to get higher value with Yamato ult. Now, honestly, we were asking the question, should they go Mo? Yes, I actually think you 100% go Mo, and they do. So Crayon Eaters, paying attention to what we've seen in EU meta-wise, or just coming to Collusion themselves, to me, Jake, I feel like that was absolutely the pick here because we've just seen what happens, or the matches, if you give up that much initiation and gank power.
And this is the BO1, right? You don't want to mess around in the BO1, give like some Paradox Mo pick off combo that can be really obnoxious to play against. I mean, Revengers still have a good start, but I wonder if they'll go Geist here. No, Abrams, okay. Interesting choice. I mean, I think Abrams is a little bit, for me at least, a soft counter to Mo and Krill as like a way to, you can break the combo really, really quick, like one of the quickest to arrive stuns in the game. And then, you don't mind putting your body on the line later in the game. Phantom Strike could even catch Yamato off guard, but definitely could be a way to target down great talent.
Well, in terms of bans here for Avengers, to see what they go. The Infernus. That's super interesting because Infernus is not already like high price. It's like fine, definitely a little bit better this patch, but I mean, Are they like targeting like somebody? I don't know. Like so many people on Crayon Eaters can play Inferno, so they're not targeting anyone. I don't know why you wouldn't even want to play against an Inferno. I don't know, man. I'm scratching my head.
Also, if Crayon Eaters has first pick out of the bans here, which I think they do, maybe I'm wrong, but assuming they do and they go Geist. No, it's Revengers. Okay, if you're Revengers, I think you have to pick Geist here. In fact, I would pick the Geist before the Abrams. I think the Abrams before the Geist was probably a little bit of a misplay, but you have your opportunity to turn it back around and grab a Geist for yourself. I think the meta right now is very, very straightforward in terms of value, and we've just seen how important that is. And I think if you give up Geist, Mo, Krill, Yamato as a frontline to their team, I don't like it. In fact, Jake, I think I hate it that they pick 7 here.
Yeah, especially into the GT, which I think is a very natural counter to 7. That you know, when he ulties, you just free cast all your power shots on him, and he should just never dodge them and should just die to that. Super scary. The bird is a consistent way to knock down the 7 ulti. So I agree with you. I think this is a risky choice to take the 7. Really relies on GT having like a super weak game and not being a big threat. And Crayon Eaters are going to grab the Calico, who has dropped in priority a little bit, but is still fantastic at last hitting souls in the lane.
So already like a nasty combo, like the Yamato, Calico, Mo, and Krill. You've already got kind of like a nice front line secured there. They could even go more with it, or they could start finding a bit more like mid-range to long-range damage or support. There's like so many options out of this, which they're in such a good spot in the draft here.
I think Bebop is insane for Avengers. I wonder if you just take it on Crayon Eaters. They're going to grab the Viscous instead as like blocking the counter to Mo Krill. But honestly, I think Bebop could have a great game here. Natural Silence Glyph Builder can be sort of an answer to Grey Talon.
Jake, they can just go Kelvin Shiv. They have the 2 picks back-to-back for Avengers. To me, when you're looking at lane power and what is still available, especially with the Viscous being out in terms of something that can help save people from the Mo and Krill, you got to go Shiv Kelvin here.
Let's have fun.
And
maybe,
I mean, I guess you still have Geist available, but
I think the problem for Shiv Kelvin this game is just that like you're never going to dome in Great Talon, or very unlikely. And then Yamato and Calico are heroes that can kind of deal with being domed. Like I don't know, doming aggressively I think is really important for Shiv or rather for Kelvin to be a strong hero. And I'm not seeing the vulnerability on Crayon Eaters for a hero that like can't deal with it. Like, you know, if you dome and the Yamato just ulties and starts fighting you, I like that they end with the Bebop, but I think the Silence Glyph is going to be really potent this game, or they're going to need it to be, I guess, because I think otherwise somebody else would have to build it. I mean, Calico and Yamato, these heroes just need to be CC'd. They need to be locked down. Even Curse in the late game could be pretty strong.
I also like with the Geist Bebop that they get more like mid-range, long-range potential on the damage, because with other potential configurations, they're kind of missing that. So I feel like their lineup's a lot more rounded. Oh, there it is. You know what? This is. I think they did this for you, ZP. I think there's a strong chance.
I want to clarify to everyone that Crayon Eaters is not the team that Deathy is on. It was not Deathy picking the last year. And
yeah, I mean, Lash is interesting. I can see the theory, I guess, because there's not really a response to it. But then Bebop, I feel like Bebop is just really quick on the hook. You can kind of beat that Lash ult to the punch. So I'm very interested to see how the Lash is played. We've seen it picked a lot. We've seen it lose a lot. So teams are still valuing it. They haven't fully given up on it yet, but I'm kind of with UZP. I'm a little worried about this 12th pick.
I think the idea for Crayon Eaters is that they probably didn't really like where their initiation was at, because we've already seen earlier in the day what can happen when your main source of getting picks and trying to get back in the game, especially if you get a little bit behind, is only the Mo and Krill. I'm just not convinced that the Lash is the option. I just feel like we live in a world where if you don't get a Paradox or a Holiday, you're kind of just permanently a bit behind, because nothing else can really compensate for having those characters. I mean, Crayon Eaters clearly made the value decision of, we just think GT is so strong, it's okay, like we'll deal with it without, because I mean, Owl is sort of initiation on top of the overall power that GT brings, but I don't know. I don't know if Lash is the thing you go in here. It's like, you know, what's a brand like way below as a replacement? Because, you know, Kirkland brand is pretty good. You can't say like, oh, it's Kirkland, Paradox, and Holiday for Lash. It's just like, what's the thing you get where it's just like,
it's great value, great value, great value, Paradox and Holiday.
I was liking Crayon Eaters draft until the end. I mean, now I'm kind of.
Is Lash bad enough to tank a good draft, though? That's the question.
I think
the draft is good.
I think it also comes down to like the competence on the Bebop play. I feel like, because I feel like Bebop is, if people play, it's played well. Obviously, it's really amazing. It's super a huge X factor for a team. And I like the synergies that exist for Avengers. You know, you got Sinclair with the hexes. I mean, just early to late game is incredible. I don't think he got really touched, right? In terms of his early game strength, still really good. Abrams obviously synergizes super well, I think, off of pretty much everything there. You've got like a nice kind of like tanky front line between him and Geist. You've got 7 for like the mid-range damage, Paradox for like the pickoffs, Bebop for pickoffs, and like also versatile on the damage. I feel like it's good synergies for Avengers to kind of deal with everything. And Crayon Eaters, I think they're a little bit squishy, and they're going to be definitely quite reliant on the Mo and Krill to secure those pickoffs. So I think it's a bit more tricky.
You know, it's funny. I'm just looking at reactions right now, and the Lash and Deathy association is so strong that you have, even though Deathy is not the one on Crayon Eaters, you have a comment in chat saying, picking Lash in the Bebop and Paradox, good luck, Deathy. It's like, no. Deathy's not the one actually running that gauntlet, just to be clear.
Did you see ZP earlier? I called Saf Deathy because he was playing the Lash, and I didn't even realize. It's like this is next level Deadlock war right now.
I was the arbiter. Remember, Jason was like, "Did you just say that?" It's like, yes.
Oh yeah.
He did just say that. You know,
Deathy needs to attend his first LAN in full cosplay of Lash.
One thing I will say about this draft is I think this is actually a pretty fantastic Viscous game. I think if Viscous can have like a strong start, I feel like the ball is going to go pretty crazy this game, and like running through the main group of Revengers, whether it's Sinclair, Abrams, Geist, 7. I mean, even Bebop. Like these are potentially tough heroes to that don't have the best tools at dealing with Viscous. However, I do think the Silence Glyph is going to be a major timing to watch out for the Bebop. So Yamato, Calico, I think these heroes both need debuff removers. And I think, honestly, that's going to be the linchpin for Avengers is, can this Paradox and Bebop find the initiations? Because the follow-up is there, right? You got Sinclair and Abrams to follow up stun, 7 as well to like set things up, and Geist and 7 for the big damage. But can you find the catches? Can you especially catch and kill Calico and Yamato before they get their ult off, or find the great talent in the backline, which is kind of the dream scenario?
I think when this game develops, you talk about leading indicators for a team doing well or not. And I think one of the key leading indicators would have to be, what is the farm for both Yamato and GT? Because all the power from Crayon Eaters that they're going to be employing versus Revengers is really going to be like through the funnel of Yamato and GT. If they're doing well, if they're even to ahead of the game, I think it's going to be pretty good for Crayon Eaters overall. If either one of them gets behind, the ability to get anything done is going to be really difficult, because you're not going to have the power to like easily follow up your combos, especially if Abrams is there to interrupt. You're going to be reliant on like big death slams from Lash. You don't like the scenarios that Crayon Eaters has to play through if either the Yamato fails or the Great Talon.
We'll see, ZP. Revengers versus the Crayon Eaters, 2 pickup teams looking to take a shot at melee creeps. Both teams, I think, with not much to lose, willing to put it all on the line here and take some gambles. And we've got some pretty wild drafts. I'm actually kind of glad. And this is sort of what I maybe expected to see, is like a little bit less of a default draft. Both teams pushing the envelope in different respects. Especially curious to see how the Sinclair does in the laning phase. Going to be a crucial element for the Revengers. As Crayon Eaters, if they get off to a hot start, there's a lot of explosive, playmaking, snowballing heroes, and the great talent. If you're getting like that quick owl online, it's such a potent tool to have in the draft.
Here's one question: did Buds actually come in and name himself Buds in game, or is it gonna be the weird like it's Buds but it's car battery? It's looking like Buds from afar. Not long enough name to be car battery. But Dan, any thoughts before we let you go for a little bit on the lane matchup that we're seeing? There's a few things that kind of strike out to me.
I mean, first thing, I just want to let you guys know that habitually eating crayons could displace proper nutrition, leading to deficiencies over time. So that's the first thing I want to mention.
Watch out, Crayon Eaters. You could be in real trouble. Your nutrition is not up to par.
Gastrointestinal distress, choking hazards, toxicity concerns. Guys, I asked Grok this question, and I have this list that I'm just repeating to you now. So there you go. But in all seriousness, I think for me, obviously the early game's always really crucial, and I think unlocking Bebop and really seeing how kind of good the Bebop play actually is going to be interesting, because with these types of mixed teams as well, we don't know how the hero pools actually look, and so for me that's going to be an assessment that I'm going to be making over the first like 10 minutes.
Meanwhile,
That's a good start.
Sick P run afoul of things early. Crayon Eaters with first pick off onto the Avengers. The thing that's interesting to me, Jake, is that you got Bebop off in the left-hand lane. A lot of times when teams run Bebop, they will put Bebop in middle, just because of the option it gives and the importance of winning middle is kind of one of your stronger lanes. So the fact that they decided, actually, we're going to put Bebop over into the left-hand side and also give us the lore accurate matchup of Bebop v Lash in lane, a little unexpected to me.
Yeah, and I think, especially with the lane freeze here by Crayon Eaters, it's well played for now. Catch onto the Mo Krill. Is this enough for they dodge the parry and get the finish off? Okay. So even Mo can't take the hook. I was about to ask that. I wonder whether Mo could escape even if he does get hooked, but with that Abrams follow-up, it's just too much damage.
This isn't a lane we've actually seen too often in terms of Bebop combos, a Bebop Abrams lane, but you think about the interactions, I mean, clearly it's not a good time to get hit by the hook. On top of it, just because you're going to get the full Abrams follow through immediately thereafter. So, yeah, I mean, so far, left lane looking formidable so far for the Revengers.
And Lefa's extremely low in the mid lane, so it's a kind of a scary spot for those mid laners. Bud's, of course, not going to be able to really tank the world on his own on great talent. So Lefa sticking on in the lane, though, trying to get some regen, get a few items up, and stabilize that position.
I will say, Jake, one thing I'd like to see teams do more. I realize it's a cost, and maybe the cost is too severe to really enable it, but I do wonder about how often you can make a lane swap work where if you could get the Viscous into the Bebop Abrams lane, all the kill potential just immediately goes out the window. It's like, oh, you've gotten hooked. Well, here's a cube. And things, maybe you could time a charge thereafter depending on the situation, but it's not great.
It's true. I mean, you can look for the defensive setup. I do like the Vegas and Rocaine lane, though, because there's just so much damage pressure from Yamato and Viscous are two of the strongest nukers at the laning phase, I think, really in all of Deadlock. And so that range pressure is going to be pretty immense. So rather than defending against a side lane, you just play aggressive in the other side and hope that your guys can hold it down. I mean, for Crayon, dying once on Mo Krill, not really going to be the end of the world. As long as he can stabilize and get a decent timing on his ulti, that's all that really matters.
It is interesting, though, seeing Flick back on the Lash. I mean, you go far enough back in time, and Flick was known for not just Paradox, but also really good Lash play. A character that kind of goes back to his roots. So, if anyone's going to find a way to make Lash work right now, it would be him. Meanwhile, off on the right-hand side, the Yamato Viscous lane continuing to be a threat. Charging, though, in here from Blue Rinse. All through as Salty, able to take down Rocaine. So things getting real spicy over on the right-hand side and a little bit testy on the left.
I mean, that was incredibly close for the guy's super low HP, but now has the ulti online. Vegas, got to be careful. Threat of that health swap, very real here in the side lane. As Revengers now are starting to bring the attack on that left side lane. Owl comes in, mostly harassment, but is there follow-up? Yes, it is. Lefa has waited a long time to be back to full HP. Now has the ulti to get out of trouble.
Carbine coming out in turn, still not going to be enough to punish either Lefa or Buds here in the middle lane. And I mean, you do love the fact of what you could do with the Owl, where you get someone low enough that Calco is there to just immediately fall through on a dive. Owl just gives you so much setup either in your own lane or on other lanes early on, and I feel like it's one of those abilities, Jake, that teams have gotten way better at playing around as the game has evolved.
Yeah, definitely. People really getting the most out of their stamina, being harder and harder to hit. The movement skill cap is so high in this game. As now you see the combo on the side lane, it's an easy kill. Bebop just totally undefensible there. Great targeting there. I think Abrams could have been a really difficult kill as he dives the tower, spam parrying everything there on the Abrams. And Florence proving to be a bit of an issue as they kill his lane mate. Still, they're quite low here, so pretty much everyone on Crayon Eaters is low. Real opportunities across the map.
Meanwhile, Bebop coming back into the left-hand side, already looking for a hook. We're looking at left 50 HP, the double parry! Still not gonna be enough to survive, but is gonna make it a little bit more of a fight. It sets up Buds to at least get one on the Deathy. Now can Buds get two? Buds, a little bit of going back and forth, breaking the ankles. Now back in hot pursuit, has the edge or the Paradox. Diving over, in, gets it at the very end. Buds, the ultimate mercenary here, Jake.
Those are some sick parries from Leffa to make that possible. And lucky save there from Lash, being unable to get hooked around the corner. But the fact that Bud's, a nice prediction by him as well there, through the veil, that last shot, just had the right read on where Goober would run away on the Paradox, gets the follow-up finish. And that's turned the mid lane into a pretty explosive start, as now the laser's going to come down, just trying to open up the tower. Here in this side lane, seems like it will be going down momentarily.
The quick little turn is like, onto the tower, a little bit to you. Onto the tower, onto you. Oh, here comes Buds, the owl. Onto the lane.
Too scary to commit, though, with Abrams right there. Bebop, happy to take this lane down. Wonder if he's going to look to start getting active with the roam here. And he's going to go with a Quicksilver reload there. Pretty interesting buy on the Bebop. Seems like he will be playing to scale maybe a little bit more into the game, which, I mean, the gun bop builds can get pretty crazy right there. That attack speed, something you got to be worried about sometimes. Here in the mid lane, Calico continuing to put the pressure on, dive under the tower, be able to grab Deathy. So some rotations there coming in clutch for the Crayon Eaters. See if things stabilize at all here. Not even for a little bit. Bud swapped under tower, now under pressure, trying to escape. See if Goober can return the favor on that last second catch. Seems like he can. But the trades went back and forth both ways. The tower dive, somewhat successful with the Crayon Eaters. Here's the copied Mo Krill ult, though, comboing under the tower. Beautifully executed there by Deathy.
Well, ZP has had one too many crayons and he's out for the moment. We'll see, though, if there's much action to be had here. Like, looking for the dive potentially there for that kill, and the follow-up will happen. Blur goes down. So right now, I love how active both teams are getting at this point.
This game is full chaos, Dan. This is absolute great craziness on the deathmatch. Both teams brawling it out. You love to see it. And that mid lane Guardian is something that I think the Crayon Eaters would really love to get down, but it's being prioritized for the defense from Revengers. I think we'll continue to see fights break out there, especially with the mid Guardian being so healthy.
Ooh, got the European cosplay with the pause. All right, so what's the feeling so far? I feel like I've really enjoyed seeing how League has been playing on the Bebop as well. I think that's been really good so far. We haven't yet seen that roam really come into effect. Something that you mentioned already in the cast. But it feels like right now Revengers are in a pretty decent position to actually maybe take the advantage here. Obviously, they have the tower advantage, couple Guardians to the good, so they're in a really good spot right now to take initiative further, Jake.
Yeah, I think it's still anybody's game here. So we see dive under tower being pressured, but the Lash punished. Not quite out of the ult, though. Still got it off. See, dive continues in here. Onto guys falling back, as well as the Bebop. No shields, not much health to speak of here. Revengers considering whether they want to fight this, but with Abrams showing up, maybe they do. Trying to dive in, trying to get a catch under that tower, and they're able to get it done. Rocane goes down. Abrams now getting really active with that overfire pressure from the Bebop laser.
All right, I take it back. Last I saw, I was looking at the back of Bebop's head. My modem, was doing a quick little reset, but thankfully, emphasis on the word quick, as he's here, the owl coming on in for blue runs.
Classic modem, loves to just reset for no reason. We've all been there.
Well, catching back up in the game, still pretty even across the board. Income allocation-wise, also, no huge storylines here just yet, aside from the fact that, Buds is kind of at the launching phase where you might start getting ahead on the GT, because I think he's closer to the 10K than not, so we'll see how that one develops, where, we haven't seen too much of a farm Grey Talon in today's games here, Jake, just because teams don't want to play against it. It's been banned pretty much all day long.
Yeah, we'll see if that'll come back to bite the Revengers, that they let that one through. Especially these owls have been pretty impactful, setting up kills or securing lanes. I think Revengers have been the team that's more interested in like these early rotations, making plays happen. Health swap comes in, but I think Grey Talon could be in trouble here.
Geist right now, after the swap, main lifeline gone, now just backing out where, once you use the swap as Geist, it's a signal to go. However, Leffa, again, pushed on back, full team effort coming in from the Revengers to save Salty in the moment. Urn right now is trying to be moved over by Blue Runs on the left-hand side. There's a big contest, though, just for rights to move the Urn.
But the fact that Crayon Eaters win that and at the same time are pressuring the mid is a great sign for them here. Grey Talon happily farming away. I think is going to grab that mid Guardian. That's massive. I mean, I call that a bit of a mistake from the Revengers. They let that full tower go down from pretty much full HP to 0 from just one player.
Yeah, and also you look at where Crayon Eaters are. Right now they're just jockeying for lane control over to the right, pushing up the lane, clearing the path for a clean earned turn-in. As you look here, Yamato walking over. No one in place to interrupt it here just yet. This is going to be as clean as they want. They're going on in. The earn is turned in. Rokane able to get it. The interrupt from League, not there in time. In fact, League just going to fall and turn. Rokane gets the earn turn in. A little bit of fresh bebop on the side. Still, the clone combo coming on in. Sets up Blue Rents. Seismic Slam, looking for enemies here on the other side. Able to slam on in, gets the Mo. And not the worst response here, Jake, from Revengers. Kind of Z'ing out a lot of the benefit Crayon Eaters got from the earn.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Vegas wasn't able to be in that fight was pretty huge. Didn't have the role online, so maybe a little bit difficult to participate in the engagement. But Revengers brought everybody. So despite the first kill going against them, they just quadrupled down, bring the entire squad. And I think that ends up paying dividends. They're able to equalize with a nice team fight.
Looking here at things developing, got Buds at 12K. And, next few fights feel very, very crucial to me, Jake, where, things are relatively even. This is where one team or another can get ahead in the early mid-game. League right now, though, looking for a hook. Got to think Buds is going to be the main target here. 3 members of the Revengers all swarming around Buds' location. But Buds, I think, is on the high ground right now. It's still relatively safe.
Yeah, GT gets the info, gets away. And Revengers are very grouped up on the map, though, ZP. This really does mean that they kind of need to get something done pretty quick, or else the farm is going to slowly start slipping away from them. See if Buds can sniff this one out. Look at all those hiding players close to location. Yeah, even pinging. Looks like they have some semblance. Yeah, they saw some players far away. And that's really big info for Crayon Eaters to find. They are actually going to bring more players, though. They kind of want to fight this. They're going to start rotating in, and now it's Crayon Eaters' turn to make a grouping play.
Still need to be careful about the approach here, where, the ideal opening for Avengers would be the swap or the hook, especially on the GT. Like, if you get GT, wait, did he get hit? Did that hook hit? That was just the jump scare.
That was the jump scare hook. I think he just barely missed. Perfect time to cut away. It's actually a horror movie.
Yeah, it's just like, did he survive? Dramatic break, and music on top. But, given the fact that we didn't see Great Talon just get ripped across the mini-map, safe to assume he was not, in fact, hit by the hook.
Allow me to open your third eye.
Teams farming up still. A lot of players close to this mid lane. Paradox and Bebop alternating, looking for opportunities. I mean, Buds is the dream target, but the more he's able to stay in this mid lane and just continue to stay alive and evade those initiations, the more farmed he's going to get, and the bigger a threat this Great Talon's going to be. I mean, already some pretty powerful spirit items here. The nuking threat is not to be underestimated from Great Talon at this point in the game.
Also, I mean, E-Shift might not be viable, but you still got the Secret Service and the Viscous staying by. But you got the clone Mo and Krill combo. Looking to take down the real Mo and Krill. Crayon getting pummeled in turn. He's going to get away. Meanwhile, the swap. They're looking for Buds. Buds, real vulnerable here and in the moment. Can they get the GT? GT down to half. The chase down in play. And they give up the 1 for 2. But if you get down the GT, it's still maybe worth it here, as Crayon was still wounded from the initial opening.
These players are very low, though, continuing to fight for Revengers. Now Abrams thinks better of it. Yamato here on the case. Rokane chasing this one down, looking for the finish. The Rabbit X comes in, but they're not scared. They're walking in on these bunnies. Full aggression. Rokane now in the ulti, but nuked down by Goober. In the end, it's a pretty even fight.
Chasing down into the Rabbit X may not have been the absolute best idea. You give up your Yamato for that. Meanwhile, take a look at what's going on the right-hand side. Just a little bit of objective focus coming on in. Flick taking down the Guardian. Meanwhile, Viscous versus Sinclair here. No parries out here just yet. Just good, clean melees. Cube gonna come in, and Sinclair probably wins these. Goes for the copied goo ball. Okay.
I mean, just goo balling away. Happy to grab that spirit buff.
Hang on.
Better, and hey, even coming to participate with the goo ball, getting into this XP range, not really doing anything, but farming a little bit of souls by being nearby.
Not things you expect when the Viscous is on your team. Meanwhile, pressure in onto Sick P. I mean, why? I mean, I get it. You think Stormcloud, can buy a little bit of survivability, but you're so far down in the hole at that point. It's just like, well, also the instant expenditure of the bag. Pick up the bag right there at the shop. Insta buy.
Yeah, nice value there. Roll is around here on this point. Nice hook onto the Mo Krill, though. Maybe didn't want to get pulled that deep. Now the turnaround here from Revengers.
Oh, Buds is set up for such cleanup here. Has the Owl good to go, coming in late to the fight, where Great Talent can really clean up. And the fight, though, breaks apart. Doesn't go into a longer element, and I think part is that Crayon Eaters is still a little bit spread out on the map, whereas practically a death ball for a moment from the Revengers. As you see Bebop now, splitting back off over to the left side. Going to be looking for Talon, but if it's just Talon and Bebop in the lane, if you don't land a hook, you're actually going to get shredded by the Talon.
Deathy's been a huge problem for Crayon, right? Just constantly copying this Mokril and comboing him before he can get the combo off. I mean, this has been working out really well for them as a sort of response to the Mokril, and then you have that Rabbit Hex on top of it if you need to, get some kind of a setup play. I like this look from Revengers, still showing like one more way to approach this Sinclair.
You know what I'd want for the game-winning play if Revengers win? Deathy to copy the Lash and win with the Death Slam. You could go, you take the Deathy off the Lash, but you can't get the Lash out of Deathy. In that case, life finds a way.
It would be the dream. It would be the dream. Pretty hard to do, I think, on Sinclair, because you don't really have the movement skill to like get up in the skybox where you want to be casting that Lash ult. But if he can do that, that would be certainly the stuff of legend.
Sometimes you can. What you'd have to do is you'd have to audience participation in the Lash, and then Spectral Assistant like to the rooftop from afar, and then use that to blink up and then drop the ult right after. It's definitely a lot more setup than just press button to go into the sky. But hey, sometimes the greatest magic requires a little bit of preparation.
Magic carpet for Vegas. Okay, this game is definitely getting wild with the uncatchable Viscous, and once again.
My headcanon for that is that's Mo just fighting his inner demons. Like, it's Spirit Mo, just, it's actually like an analogy for like, or an analog to like mental health awareness type of deals. What I'm seeing from Mo.
I mean, they're getting kind of dominated by this play at a Deathy, and the cooldown is so short. With the audience participation, the Sinclair is looking great right now.
Yeah, I mean, Sinclair, it's kind of interesting too, because Sinclair did just get hit with a round of nerfs, but the overall power of the kit is still quite strong when you're talking about just great escapes and the ability to just like completely change the landscape of fights with audience participation, where again, I feel like Revenger's gotten way more combo value than Crayon Eaters have so far in this game.
It's really interesting to see that, despite the fact that I feel like Revengers is getting the better of a lot of these trades and team fights, the fact that they're grouping up so much, Crayon Eaters is still slightly out farming just in the neutral.
Interesting though, you look at the income allocation here. There's still no storyline that's where things have really gone out of whack. I mean, you got frontline for Avengers at 18k, frontline for Crayon Eaters also at about 18k. It's about as even as it gets. I think maybe the worrying part for Crayon Eaters is that, Crayon's actual farm, in part because of just getting comboed every fight by Deathy, is kind of minimal. And you start hitting a point as Mo where if you're this far behind the game, you don't live even when you do get your combo off. Like, you just kind of get bursted down.
Yeah, it feels like you also pretty much have to copy Sinclair, or else he's just going to come combo you in the middle of the team fight. So I'm curious to see how Crayon is going to try to adapt to this counterplay.
We do appreciate Crayon, though, coming into play. Usually Crayon is one of our most regular co-streamers, always streaming the games, looking for ways to be involved. In this case, had the opportunity to get involved and, a little bit late notice because some players are missing. But, being in the midst of battle, sometimes more difficult than expected.
Well, we'll see. I think they can adapt, but I still think Mo can be strong this game. I just think there's so many setup skills, right? Like, this is the challenge of playing against Bebop and Paradox, is that more often than not on Crayon Eaters' game, and we talked about this in the draft, like, the challenge of getting the Lash makes this setup awkward.
Quick damage here on the Vegas. Bebop, though, getting real low and chased down. Leffa, not going to let this one slide. Chases down the Bebop. However, while this is going on, see on top, Crayon down here once more. May have actually been another copied ult. Not quite sure. Brocane, though, down. Revengers right now 1 for 2. Decent trades here thus far. Goober and Salty kind of low in the moment, but we'll see how this fight escalates. Crayon Eaters does have the ability to go in, land a good death slam. To me, I'm kind of looking at Flick if this continues being a fight. Goes up over the top, gets health swapped. Okay, now if you're Flick, you might not want this fight anymore, Jake.
You're a little deep on Geist, though, for Salty. But it seems like the rest of the Crayon Eaters players are just a bit too low. They're going to go for the fallback instead, although not Leffa. He's chasing, looking for a finish kill here. Oh, but the opponent is so quick. Slipping away, but Ava is even faster. The follow-up from Buds is there.
You know, I love the commentary from chat earlier in the day. Wayne Buena is like, you know, someone at Valve got paid a lot of money to animate Ava just climbing that rope. The full cat animation.
You're going to need it. You don't have to have the players in this game are just staying in the cat 24/7.
Yeah. I mean, why not? Also, good mobility, not the mini-map. And, you know, whatever aura you gain from just being way cuter in that period of time. But here we go. On the rooftops is Flick. Still has Death Slam in reserve, but not a lot of HP to use it. For now, looking to full-on Spider-Man his way out of danger. Meanwhile, the dive incoming. Crayon with the combo. Paradox, real danger here. Goober right now trying to stay alive. Still somehow alive, way longer than expected. Gets the decay off, but that is where it's going to end. However, will there be any follow-through coming in for the Revengers off? The full rotation is coming on in. Bebop in from the right-hand side, going to be looking for a hook. Meanwhile, Vegas, goo balling around, rolling back over and into the fight. Re-engage, perhaps, in play by Crayon Eaters here so far, but, you know, Flick can't go in for the Death Slam. Far too low.
Just one kill, but everyone on Crayon Eaters is low. They got to fall back. They got to get a bit of a regroup here, and Revengers know it. Despite being down a player, they're putting the pressure here on the Walker. Maybe the Owl will dissuade them. And Rokane does not have ulti here on the Yamato. Struggling to fight the Abrams, who's just tanking through everything here. But maybe being baited a little bit deep. Oh, he's turning around. Yamato is in trouble, scared. And they just barely dance away from the Abrams. Got kited and baited into oblivion by that Yamato.
I mean, that was a save, but that also, I feel like if Yamato didn't make more distance, I could have actually worked really bad against where, I mean, the Abrams somewhat died, but we've had a chance to get the Yamato, but clearance was had. Meanwhile, swap on to Flick. Flick not gonna be getting out of this one alive, so the trades do continue. Crayon Eaters, though, the result of some of the last skirmishes here, Jake, both teams even on objectives, but Crayon Eaters now, you know, a good 15K ahead, and in particular, some threats starting to really develop here where, it's been a while, but Leffa getting some of his signature clearance from the rest of the game.
Yeah, Leffa and Buds, I think, are going to be those key damage dealers. I will say, Revengers, the Bebop is going the scaling build this game, so it's going to be a pretty serious threat when it comes to that gun damage into the late game. So I wonder if that's something that the Crayon Eaters have considered and thinking about. But you're right, I think to say, you know, 10K lead, still pretty comfortable for them. Not quite enough to force key objectives, but I think like the next urn comes online, or if the teams catch each other in a big team fight, we could see the mid boss go and either stabilize the game for the Revengers or really open it up for Crayon.
23 minutes in, a moment of reprieve right now. Both teams focusing on their own jungles. Still plenty of outs for both sides to make it competitive. You know, it's good to see here, Jake. Sometimes you get this deep into the game and there's a little bit rough, but while it's a lull, we haven't called in Dan for a bit, and, you know, Dan, what are you seeing right now in this game and the multitude of ways some of these fights have developed?
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch. The thing that's interesting is it feels like the game's been really close, and that the disparity of souls kind of comes down to Crayon Eaters just being better in terms of farming efficiency, just like in their own jungles and so on, in between all the moments, because I don't think necessarily, you know, obviously the objectives are pretty even, the fights are pretty even, so you're only left with just the farming. That's really the difference maker, and so it feels like if Revengers can hold on long enough, given how well Defy's been playing on the Sinclair especially, and the impact that that's had, and just the synergies we're seeing from Revengers, I'm actually pretty confident that we could see something, a very competitive end game here from Revengers. So I'm pretty excited to be honest. To like keep watching this is really awesome.
There's no way Leffa gets out, right? I mean, it's Ava. Got enough clearance to go Ava for him, and yeah, okay, Leffa, unless gets caught by the 7, Leffa I think got out of there, and we'll see though. If you're Avengers, you may be okay with this if you turn this into a Walker. Although it may be more of a Walker trade when you take a look what's going on the left. So
I mean, Flick is there to defend with Lash Ult though. This could get ugly if the Crayon Eaters players can come back and follow this one up. This could be a good moment for Lash. Seems like maybe they won't be there in time, and Lash can't just go 1v4.
There's kind of a need for flex slots. You know, you're getting around 150K for Avengers, and you're over it for Crayon Eaters. There comes a point where you expand your living space for your items. But a little bit of action here on the top side. Defy perhaps getting caught out. The pain is coming, and you know, for Crayon, he's going like, please, I need my combo up. I need to give him a taste of his own medicine. Buds, though, just chunking Deathy from afar.
Dude, this magic carpet for Vegas is hilarious. I mean, if you do want to try to focus down the Viscous in order to prevent his saves, though, the magic carpet makes that incredibly difficult to do. It also allows Viscous to show up at a lot more team fights than he might otherwise be able to and save the goo ball for the fight itself. 7 though, looking to get on the contest. Sick P could ulti over the top here.
They have to Death Slam in response to that because they're going to get high value Stormcloud otherwise. Here we go. Stormcloud is out. Death Slam is using it. It's not the 7. The 7 is getting enormous value from the start. Finally, the Krill comes in, but so much damage was done. This is going to set up Salty. Buds trying to make something happen here. One of the few people that wasn't just getting nuked down by the Stormcloud. Crown Eaters coming out ahead in the end, but that was nearly deadly. Still losing 3 to 4 here thus far.
Pure chaos of a fight. And in the end, I think that Paradox death is going to be pretty costly and make this into a more decisive victory for the Crayon Eaters, especially with the fact that these deaths for them are rejuve deaths. They're going to be able to respawn and maybe even take the mid-walker. They have quite a bit of time to go with this power play.
I think not just mid-walker. I think by the time this rejuve is over, especially with the deaths that are in play, it should be Crayon Eaters getting the remainder of the flex slots from the walker contribution here. But as I say that, Deathy wanting a little bit of a fight, ends up getting parried, and look at the single-minded focus onto the walker. There's no desire to skirmish Deathy there for Leffa. Leffa's just saying, you know what, it's cool that you exist, but I'm just here for the walker. It's nothing but business.
Yeah, I like the focus on objectives. It seems like Yamato should be able to get the second walker as well. And that fully opens the map up now for the Crayon Eaters. They still have the rejuve online, that kill onto League. I mean, the game's kind of falling apart here for the Revengers. They're stumbling at this hurdle. Vegas rolling in. And the shrines are starting to go down. ZP, Crayon Eaters has no interest in backing down or slowing this game.
Yeah, and never say you never saw a flying carpet of Viscous get some work done here. Rokane, though, getting caught. Still have to be a little bit cautious here on the push-in if you're Crayon Eaters. It's knocked back right away, and it's like, you're a goo ball, but you've now been run over by a different goo ball. Courtesy of Deathy. However, that is going to fade. And
two goo balls clash in the night. Do they make a sound? Who gets stunned?
It'd be more of a, I don't know, I can't make a good goo sound, but like just kind of a
like
sickening,
a slurp.
like glurp sound, kind of. I don't know. We'll have to workshop that. But, or maybe it's better we don't. I don't think we have that sound, but...
You workshop your glurps and get back to me. We need fresh glurps. Management says we need fresh glurps by 6 p.m. tonight.
I mean, we've said the word glurp like 4 times. Justin's probably already put it on his shirt. And I'm not talking about Jason's alter ego.
All right. Gambas being taken down. Abrams, though, hold on. They know he's here. Maybe combo for Crayon. Thinking about getting in on this. Don't know if the follow-up is there. They're going to fall off for the moment.
Well, look at the overall course of play here. I think the problem that gets the Revengers is a little bit on the stat side where 20k difference and Leffa and Buds going to be problems moving forward. Rokane a little bit behind. I mean, they have some outs in terms of their farm. I mean, 7 at 30k, Geist 30k. It's not totally out of the realm of possibility, but Leffa is farmed up enough that there's going to be pretty high levels of aggression unless you could just set up a full-on mega gank on the Leffa when he's not expecting it, which did happen once earlier in the game.
Crayon looking for something, instead finds an angry Geist. Is just going to be full running out of there, but so much mobility on this Mo. Don't have the stuns in position to lock him down, and Crayon Eaters happy to sit back, wait for the mid-boss to spawn. They got 3 minutes for that. There's a lot of jungle to do on their side of the map. And Crayon is still getting scouting info, still making sure that anybody who does leave the base is on the radar for Crayon Eaters so that they don't get caught off guard.
And speaking of getting caught off guard, I mean, that's where you'd be looking the League to maybe land a hook. Meanwhile, Yamato, okay, getting a little bit under pressure here. Able to take some solace here onto the top of the rooftop. Deathy has already used audience participation. Not quite sure what he copied, but the overall impact perhaps a little bit low. Revenge is already down pretty heavily in HP. Salty, though, finding Buds into the back line. Meanwhile, though, Rokane in, chewing Lurence apart, moving on forward. This is where Yamato can get some deep cleanup, deeper into the fight with players down. Only 3 up remaining here for the Rangers. The rest of the Crayon Eaters looking relatively healthy here, Jake. And this could be the beginning of the end.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it's ZP. Mid-boss not up yet. That's the only real hopeful sign here for the Revengers as they're wiped only 1 kill to show for it onto Buds. I mean, that's one of those things. It's like you can dive the great talent in the back line. You could kill him. But in the end, if the rest of the team fight goes against you, it's just not worth it. And there's so many more threats on Crayon Eater's side right now. You can't just tunnel the one of them. And now lanes pushing against them. Could easily see first layer patron going down right now for Crayon Eaters.
All right. Crayon Eaters now just looking to secure their way into the money match versus melee creeps. They're pretty close here. Revengers will have one more opportunity to defend, but you know, again, now they're just kind of in the realm of hoping for either a big swap to kick things off, or for Crayon Eaters to, you know, do some combination of plays that give SickP a massive storm cloud. Like we have seen throws versus 7, especially in and around the pit, but you know, one of the upsides of running Lash is that you can just pop the Death Slam, at least until Unstoppable comes into play, but Unstoppable has not been ultra favored.
It's such an expensive item, right? And your teammates could just get targeted by the stuns that don't go on you. So, you know, on the one hand, I can understand sometimes needing it, but I think the less you can build it, the better. Meanwhile, Leffa has just been consuming the jungle, has almost 7,000 unspent souls. I mean, Leffa is really getting out of control in kind of a big way. I mean, the gun scaling was nerfed a bit on this Calico hero, but with this kind of a soul lead, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, you can nerf the scaling, but there is kind of a point where it's like, well, I will just compensate for the nerf scaling
E-shift.
by acquiring even more things. Oh, wow.
Return of the E-shift, the expensive E-shift.
It's back. Flex your wealth, baby. Let's go.
I mean, it makes sense. It's like super good on Calico. It gives you a lot of things that you do actually want on the character, almost like a second mini ult now. And with this kind of a lead, you are liable to get focused. Here's Magic Carpet Vegas. Impossible kill. Just Magic Carpets away. Good ball is copied. Deathy trying to get something done, but taking a lot of gun damage here. Got to be careful.
Deathy just wanted to be a goo ball this entire time. Here we go. Leffa. Raid boss mode may be activated. 4,200 HP on the way forward. And boy, are they surprised when they try and go for him. The shift is up, and Abrams caught the closet, but gets the parry. Still way behind in HP. Having to try and run, drop seismic slam. Still in danger. Buds with the big burst to finish it off. And this should be game coming on up. Will be Crayon Eaters moving on to take on melee creeps in our money match here today. But, you know, Jake, not entirely a one-sided game. Gave us some interesting storylines across the board. And, you know, we'll see how the draft works. I'm not sure if this vindicates Lash, but at the very least, it didn't, you know, cost them the game or anything like that. And if anyone can play a Lash decent, it'd be Flick.
Yeah, I mean, they executed on it pretty well. They played to their draft, and like even though Revengers had some nice early game roams that put them in a decent spot in the game, in the end, Crayon Eaters, this is the core of Hydra Nation. This is a team that's so good at getting farmed, at getting that soul lead, and just leveraging you into a position where you're forced to make desperation moves, and then they can shut you down. It's a clinical performance from them, and a nice solid victory that they can feel confident about going into the money match.
Just looking at production here, where it's just like, production, they asked Dan, who's going to be your player of the match? And it's like, oh yeah, I do got one that's in here. I'm not actually sure. I assume production had my camera after my modem messed up, but I guess we'll find out soon. But we're good. And I'm going to take the vote to bring him back in Dan immediately and not leave Dan out in the cold, just, you know, sad, wondering about why he has been abandoned. But, you know, Dan, this game had some interesting looks, but, you know, perhaps one of them kind of got a taste of why Grey Talon isn't necessarily allowed to be played by teams.
Yeah, it's pretty rough to play against for many reasons, as you guys kind of covered in the match. It's interesting though, because despite all of that, I felt like the early to mid game was kind of okay. It was okay for the Revengers. They gave themselves opportunities. There's actually an inflection point before the mid boss fight where you had that really good storm cloud that did a lot of damage and kind of made it kind of close, where we had this moment where Deathy actually got caught out of position. Like his teammates on the right side of the map would take like focus firing the walker, and there wasn't a response. And Deathy was alone around the mid walker, and Deathy just stuck around as opposed to kind of fully disengaging, and then died. And then that's what kind of triggered the mid boss attempt. And I wonder if the mid boss would have been attempted without Deathy's death, or if they would have attempted it even if Deathy was up. But I just, you know, I just wonder. I don't want to like throw Deathy under the bus here, but that was like in the inflection point. That was like the moment where Crayon Eaters were actually able to completely fully take over the game. Was kind of after that pick. So So I just wanted, I wonder what would have happened had they been able to find somewhat of a recovery, or if the farm would have been a bit better. Because yeah, it was kind of cool to see the comp in play, and I think Revengers did a decent job. But I think obviously the quality on Crayon Eaters is pretty high, and obviously the draft as well. There's some pretty strong points there, and when Leffa gets going, he gets going.
I gotta put some respect on Vegas this game. Top damage on the Viscous. So like playing the carry build, you know, using that magic carpet to be a little bit greedier and maybe just farm the map more efficiently, and it pays off big time. I mean, he's in a pretty sick spot from the souls, the damage. I mean, really impressive performance. Kind of a new way to play Viscous that I haven't really seen in the pro level.
I think what I'm excited to see going on forward here is, can Crayon Eaters take down melee creeps? I actually think with the level of skill that they have on the team, that it is not inconceivable, especially coming off the back of a new patch into a new meta. We have seen, you know, pickup teams, you know, in special circumstances come in and have that power. And, you know, it's a testament to where, like, team synergy is important in these games, Jake, but also individual skill. And, you know, I almost think to an extent, like, the pressure being off, I think it definitely helps, because you're going in here as Crayon Eaters. You're not under the normal expectations as if you were on your main team. But by comparison for melee creeps, you know, just kind of looking ahead, all the pressure is on, because you're in a no-win situation. If you win, people are just like, oh yeah, you know, you won, you're the champion. They had some subs, but if you lose, it's like, ha, you lost to a team with a sub. So a little bit tough mentally.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely you got to give like the mental comfort edge to Crayon Eaters, but in the end, right, melee creeps are able to win against the full roster of Hydra Nation. So I feel like there's no reason they shouldn't be the favorite in this match. I think Crayon Eaters are looking to throw a spanner in the works here and just like make this game more chaotic and break like kind of the way this first game was, where a lot of death matching, a lot of individual fights, maybe some innovative builds coming out, and you're hoping, I think, that you can throw the melee creeps for a loop. But this is a team that has now had quite a bit of success in DFN NA, and I think you can't be disrespecting them or thinking they're going to be an easy win, especially for a pug team. So I still think melee creeps have got the edge in this next match.
Yeah, and I'm curious how they're going to adapt as well to the new patch, because there's a lot to adapt to. We already saw it in EU, and you guys have been, well, ZP, you've been seeing it all day with in the Deadlock scene. So I'm super curious, because melee creeps, they managed to harness that more one-win-esque style of play, and that's a bit different now.
Also, we don't have a full highlight package because we were really spreading around the clips in the last game, but our MVP for the last game was Flick, so, you know, we'll give Flick give Flick the flowers there. You know, I guess, you know.
I feel like Vegas got robbed, man. The magic carpet Viscous build was too crazy for me. I was like, what is he doing? But he's actually farming with it.
Yeah,
again,
I had to weigh it up between Flick for winning a game on Lash.
That is true.
Like
Has it been done before?
Has it been done before? The first ever. I mean, look, you just have to go hard mode like One Win did yesterday and go, it's not enough to pick Lash. You know, we need to go further. And then they paired it with the McGinnis. And I'd love to tell you that they won a glorious victory at that, but no, they in fact lost quite poorly with that team comp. To very little surprise. But that is the end of our money match. Crayon Eaters has won the right to take melee creeps to battle right after this. And, you know, Jake, any final thoughts before we hop on in to our money match here in NA?
No, just shout out to both of those teams, you know, for putting together a squad and showing us some fun stuff there in the challenger match. I am curious to see if they have a hope against melee creeps. I'm kind of hoping that melee creeps can kind of put a resounding defeat on them to build a little bit more momentum for themselves in DFN. But at the same time, I mean, like you guys mentioned, the individual strength of these players on Crayon Eaters is not to be underestimated. And I think there's always the chance they can come out hot from the lanes and make something happen.
All right. Well, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, I was just saying, my final thought is just, it's really cool seeing these two teams play and just having a reminder of the kind of community that we have with in Deadlock, and that comes out on the Deadlock Fight Night broadcast by getting to see a lot of these names, you know, resurfacing and participating and joining in on the show. So just like shout outs to the community, because it's like an awesome place where we're at right now.
All right, well, the stage is set. The final series of the night is going to be coming on at you. $1,000 on the line. This is Deadlock Fight Night, presented by Intel number 23, and we'll be right back.